You've decided you're ready to become a parent, and suddenly you're overwhelmed with people who feel they have the right to inform you on the correct way to conceive, give birth, what fears you should have, and the proper way to parent. How do you filter through the opinions? How do you know what's trustworthy information and what's a myth or just plain outdated? Welcome to the Birth Ease podcast. Join your host Michelle Smith and her guests as they cut through the noise and fear by sharing valuable tips, tools, and proven methods that help you connect with your own inner wisdom as you navigate the sacred journey that is pregnancy, birth, and parenthood in a more relaxed and confident manner. This podcast does not constitute, nor is it intended, as medical advice.
Hello, Birthies families. Welcome to this heartfelt space. I'm your host, Michelle Smith, and I'm so grateful you are here. Thank you for tuning in to the second half of my conversation with Barbara Decker, one of the pioneers in the field of childbirth education. Barbara has been a childbirth educator for almost 50 years. She trained as a Lamaze instructor before it was even called Lamaze International. ASPO, anyone? Anybody else remember that? She's a hypnobirthing practitioner, doula, and an avid supporter of APA, the Association of Pre- and Perinatal Psychology and Health, which is a public benefit, educational, and scientific organization offering information, inspiration, and support to medical professionals, expecting parents, and all persons interested in expanding the horizons of birth psychology. Barbara is one of the mentors for APA's PPNE program, which is the Prenatal and Perinatal Educator Certification Program, and she is also a certified prenatal bonding facilitator, one of the few in the United States. What brought Barbara to the field of prenatal and perinatal psychology was the knowledge she received after reading The Secret Life of the Unborn Child by Thomas Verney. Since that time, Barbara has received certificates as a prenatal bonding facilitator with BOND, the Greatest Pregnancy Ever program, and she trained for 2.5 years with Dr. Gerhard Schroth in the prenatal bonding program. Barbara was one of the first graduates of the APA PPEN program. Her passion for educating parents on the importance of the preconception gestational period led her to write a new paradigm in childbirth education, which she calls Empowering Pregnancy. Barbara has lectured throughout the United States, in India, and in Mexico on the need to teach these classes. It is imperative that we educate our birthing families on the intelligence of the baby growing in the womb. Our babies need to feel loved during the pregnancy. Mothers need to manage their stressors in a safe way, and this program offers the tools to build a healthy relationship for the whole family. Parents that have attended the program feel that they are better prepared for their pregnancy, more bonded and attuned to the baby inside, planned for more natural births, an improved relationship with their partners, and feel more prepared for the postpartum experience. When you parent a baby in the womb, you know how to parent when the baby arrives. Attachment improves with a more conscious awareness of the needs of our babies for healthy minds and bodies. Pregnancy complications are lessened, and parents make more informed choices in birthing facilities, care providers, and interventions. It's time to empower our families with the knowledge that emotional intelligence is formed from conception through the 9 months after birth. In this half of the conversation, we will delve more fully into what drives Barbara to keep going. She shares a story of a colleague remembering her experience in the womb, and Barbara explains more fully pre- and perinatal psychology.
Relationships are critical. A lot of parents don't realize that our babies are relational people in the womb and outside the womb. One of the first things that a baby does after they're born is they look at the mother's face. They want that relationship. There's a specialty in the emotional system that's been discovered, and it's called the polyvagal theory, where we have a social nervous system as well as the autonomic nervous system. We have the sympathetic, we have the parasympathetic, and we have a social system. And many of our parents are not aware that these babies are looking for a social interaction. They're not just a blank slate when they come out of you.
Right.
They are looking for a trusting relationship. And that's what builds great bonding and attachment. When the parents respond to the needs of the baby, when they cry, they can't walk to the kitchen. They can't walk to the bathroom. They may just need holding. And that's our job.
Mm-hmm.
Our job is to respond to our babies because they're born much younger than most mammals. And to have families have to go back to work 6 weeks, 2 weeks after they've just had a baby is not what Mother Nature had in the works.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hope that our country wakes up to that fact. We're getting a little bit better, slowly but surely, recognizing how important mothering is in giving the baby the best start after the birth. They need us there. They need to be responded to, and you don't let your babies cry. You respond to your baby and become that healthy attachment figure. Part-time, it's the dad or the partner. Part-time is the mom. But they need a healthy attachment figure to be able to build a healthy psychological system and emotional system in their little bodies. There's so much work to be done, Michelle. And there's so much knowledge to pass on to our families. Many of them don't realize how important this preconception, welcoming the baby, empowering during the pregnancy, loving that baby, and then needing the next 9 months to give that baby a sure, secure relationship. Now, some of your parents may also be listening where when they peed on a stick and they go, "Oh, I'm pregnant. This is not a good time."
Right.
So
Right.
not everything is welcome. When you have 45% of our babies being unplanned or not even wanted, and that's from statistics from Guttmacher back in 2015. I haven't seen any since. But almost half of our babies coming into the world are either unplanned or unwanted. So those circumstances are going to happen. Once that family has made the decision that this baby is going to continue and they really want to love this baby, any parent or family can start doing the repair because the babies understand that questioning period. They know whether they're wanted, whether they're not wanted. And when you have decided you're keeping that baby, you want to do the repair, be honest with them, talk to them, say, "Honey, we really want you to come into this world. And I'm sorry I was even questioning it at the time." So repair is possible at any time during a pregnancy. And if a mother has decided that adoption is a necessity just because of her life, then that mother can become a blessed babysitter, loving that baby so that another family can love that baby after the baby's born.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different way of thinking, but it's bonding with the baby to give the baby a healthy start, feeling loved, knowing that the baby may be being adopted by another family.
Right. My brother is adopted.
Uh-huh.
And I truly feel that it's such a gift. his parents gave us such a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And often the languaging circles around, they gave up their baby, and it can have trying to find the words, but it can make the child that's been adopted feel like they weren't wanted. It can make the mother or the father feel like they're bad people. They gave their baby up. And so I appreciate what you're saying, because it creates a different paradigm for everyone.
Absolutely. Adoption may be just the right thing for an individual. There's so many families out there that don't have any children, but really, for a long time, people didn't realize how babies were affected in the womb and how they could be adopted by a really loving, wonderful family and still have emotional problems. It usually shows up during the pubescent period, where the child starts thinking about, why did my parents give me up?
Yeah, I remember my brother going through that. I really do.
It's a tough time for them. And there's a book that anybody can read. It's called The Primal Womb by Nancy Verrier. And Nancy had adopted a girl. She had her own daughter, and they were brought up in the same household. The daughter that was adopted got into all sorts of problems when she became a teenager. And Nancy took that child to psychologist after psychologist, and nobody recognized what the child's problem was until she found someone that was in the field of pre and perinatal psychology. Immediately, that person understood it was that primal wound of having to leave the mother and to go to another family.
Mm.
And Nancy explains it in the book. That was the beginning of open adoptions. That was the beginning of open adoptions, where the adoptive family would build a relationship with the adoptee mother, and it would give the child a greater chance of not feeling that not good enough, because they would understand in the long run what was happening to the mother that gave the baby up. It was the beginning of connecting the relationship between the birthing family and the adopting family. And that's quite a beautiful book for people to read if they're ever considering an adoption, knowing that open adoptions are there.
Yeah, my brother's was closed, and he tried to do some research around it, but never completed it, wasn't able to complete it.
Well, one of my friends here in Seattle was going to be covering a doula case for me. She was going to be my backup.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were talking, I was telling her about the work that I did with APA. And she said to me, I remember being in my mother's womb. I was adopted.
Wow.
So obviously that opened up a conversation between the two of us. She said, I can remember I was inside my mother. I remember things about where I was living at the time before I was adopted. I had a wonderful family that I was adopted into. I used to have visions of other people, and the psychologist said that I was crazy. They wanted to put me on meds.
Oh my.
And her parents, her adoptive parents, said, no, we don't think she's crazy at all. And so she grew up having some visions. So the more we became friends, the more she became involved in the field of pre and perinatal psychology. And she was able to find her birth parents. She is connected to her birth parents. She has somewhat of a relationship with them. When she went to visit the home where her mother was actually pregnant, it was her aunt's house, and she went to visit the aunt, And she said to the aunt, "Did you ever have carpet that had like pink flowers on a green background or something?" And her aunt said, "Yeah, that ugly rug, we ripped that up years ago."
Wow.
And when she was walking around the house, she knew her way all around the house. She knew every room. She felt she'd been there before. And come to find out, yeah, that rug was there. And that was one of her things. Now, during another session that both she and I went through, a rebirthing program, she remembered she had this vision of this woman. And this is the vision she was having for years, of a woman in a particular style dress with a particular hairstyle, and it would just come to her and then leave her. And the more she researched her family history, she found out that it was either her great grandmother or her great great grandmother that was a midwife in a Native American tribe. And she never knew she had Native American blood in her until she started doing this research. And the dress the woman had on was that particular tribe's typical dresses that the women wore.
That's incredible.
Now, even I get the chills when I remember her telling me this story. And so she did a lot of research, and she went back, and whenever she found the tribe and she saw their tribal dress, and that was the same dress that she had the visions of, it just opened a whole new door into her own history. So people that have been adopted, it's in their subconscious mind what happened to them in the womb. And it's called an implicit memory. It's not something that's in a conscious memory. It's in their subconscious. And it's also in their body cells, these memories.
Mm-hmm.
And it oftentimes will take something to trigger in a deep, relaxed state that they're able to go back to remembering back into the womb. And that's the perfect lead-in to tell you about APA.
Yes, yes.
Because that's how APA came about. There was a psychologist by the name of David Chamberlain, who was a retired minister that went into the field of psychology. And there was a psychiatrist from Toronto by the name of Thomas Verney. The two of them were talking at a psychological conference back in the 1970s into the early 80s. And they were discussing the fact that they had had some clients that in a deep state of relaxation, they were able to go back to their experiences in the womb. And it was a shock to both of them because they didn't think that was possible. So they did their own research projects, and they asked the families, their patients, to go back to their families and ask, what happened during this period of my life? And they were able to verify that what they remembered in that state actually happened. Now, some of these were abortion attempts. Some of these were just fighting going on. Some of these were just building. Something happened to them during that early nurture period that made a difference to them subconsciously that they were carrying through the rest of their lives. And that's why they were seeing them as psychologists and psychiatrists. So once they did their research project, they decided to take their paper and wanted to present it to the American Psychological Association. And they would not let them present it.
Wow.
So they started their own organization. which was the original organization, I think was called PANA or Prana. And that was the original organization, which turned into the Association of Pre and Perinatal Psychology and Health, which is APPA, APPPAH. And there we stand now with this wonderful organization that started in the early 1980s and has been trying to get the attention of the world to the importance of the early nurture period, preconception, conception, pregnancy, birth outcomes, and postpartum. It's the first 1,000 days that we hear about, that people are speaking about. It's from that preconception, conception period that our babies are being affected with their nervous systems, their brain architecture, the pregnancy of the mother. It's all intertwined with this early period. And that's where APPA came from, was people that were having, as adults, emotional problems, and they were able to relax enough to have memories back from that early primal period. Powerful, powerful work.
It is. It is. And it's such a different paradigm than babies are a blank slate. And I mean, goodness, I used to think babies didn't have any feelings physically when they were first born.
They didn't think they could feel pain.
I know.
They did surgery until 1980, heart surgery without pain meds on babies.
Isn't that inconceivable?
It is inconceivable. 1980. And now we know, because we've seen it on ultrasounds, when a woman is having an amniocentesis, they use ultrasound, they would see babies grabbing the needle or batting it out of the doctor's hand. At 20 weeks is when they oftentimes would do an ultrasound. And these little beings would either grab the needle or whack it out of the way. And they would see it on ultrasound. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even think they really like ultrasounds that much, babies.
No.
And I know sometimes they're medically necessary and they're an incredible tool, but I also think they're overused. And, you know, people talk about, oh, my baby was hiding from the ultrasound and all of it.
Either that or they'll kick the cuff off.
Yeah.
They'll boot it. They'll keep kicking underneath it.
Yeah. So we really need to listen to our babies. I think that's the crux of it, isn't it?
Well, most people don't realize that these babies feel it in their body. They don't understand the words. They understand the tone of the words. They can tell when someone's angry or when someone's calm and they're loving. They feel that vibrationally. They feel the surrounding environment. They feel the mother's stress hormones. And this is having an impact in the way their body is growing. We have to let the public know how important this period is. And that's why I'm so big on encouraging mothers to just take that pause, parasympathetic breath, and notice how their body feels different. It takes them away from that daily stress hormone rush. It gives them a break, and it's going to help our babies realize there are ups and there are downs all day long. It's okay, and that's going to better prepare them for what life is going to be. As Bruce Lipton, a famous cell biologist, says, if you're living in a wartime strife situation, you better be prepared to fight. That means you're building a fighting reptilian brain, primal brain, and you're putting your energy into protecting yourself. That's not giving you the chance to build a calm, emotional regulation. You're a fighter when you come out. And when you stop to think about that, how many of our babies are we bringing out as fighters rather than giving them the start that they can have by feeling safe and loving and put their energy into growth and health, just like what Jenny Joseph is doing with her patients.
Mm-hmm.
We can change society when parenting in the womb becomes a normal phase of part of having a baby. We can change society as a whole. We will not be just wimps. We will be caring, compassionate, empathetic human beings. And we need more of that happening across the world. And this is happening across the world. I've taught in India. In India, they're teaching these classes all over. It's 6,500 years ago, the Indian culture understood how important pregnancy was, how important welcoming the baby was. And they're going back to these ancient wisdom. In Brazil, they've known it. In China, in Japan, they had training programs where the mothers would get together and sing chants, or they would sing lullabies to their babies during the pregnancy period. These programs were there centuries ago, and we've lost the beauty over the many years. It's time to go back and recognize that ancient wisdom had something very special to offer us. And we are now starting to recognize it and giving our babies a better chance. Thank you for letting me share that.
Oh, you're so welcome. I love every bit of this. I have been drawn to perinatal psychology for years, for as long as I can remember. It's just such an integral piece of all of this that gets dismissed, overlooked. It really does.
And it's happening more. I do believe that certainly the medical field is starting to listen to the mothers in giving them choice during birthing. I think we're starting to make some headway in that. We just need, and I don't know whether we could approach it in health classes, even at the high school level, in a biology class, in a health class, to help the young people realize that having a pregnancy is not just a happening or a thing growing within the womb, that we are growing another human being. And what that human being is feeling and sensing, that human being is going to grow up. And what kind of a nervous system is that human being going to become? We have choice. Can we start opening the minds of our teenagers to the importance of what it's like to be a mother, what it's like to be a father? And you really need to take them back to their own experiences to what they received and what they might have liked to be different. This is a whole new field that would really, in the long run, make a big, big difference. But if we can just start with people that are thinking of getting married, just like some churches make them go through counseling when they're getting married, we should also be speaking about how important relationships are and what we're bringing into our relationship when we marry and when we think about having a baby. What we bring into that relationship, we need to understand about each other. What was that mother's childhood like? What was the mother's birth like? What was the mother's pregnancy like? She was that baby inside her mother. And what did she learn as a young child? And then you have to do the same exercise with the partner, because that dad or the partner, that partner experienced their preconception, their pregnancy, their birth in their early childhood. Those first 1,000 days are what make us the human beings that we are. And we have to start researching and helping our couples recognize that, how important that period is, so they can have a healthy relationship, understand each other's triggers, and be ready for that baby when that baby's going to come into the world. Important stuff, Michelle. Such important stuff.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's deep, deep work, but what a difference it makes when we enter into all of this consciously.
And, it doesn't take that much, Michelle. I wrote a program called Empowering Pregnancy, and it's an 8-hour course. And it delves into a lot of this work. And there are exercises in the program that help each parent go back to what they faced, what they liked about their mother, what could have been better about their mother, what kind of a mother they want to be, what do they like about their father, what could have been better about their father, what kind of a father would they like for their baby. And each of the parents do this exercise. And then I bring in some of Fred Worth's work where they talk about when they found out they were pregnant, what came into their mind. And they have a chance to experience their feelings from these early periods and then learn how empowered they can be to bring this baby into the world with a healthy emotional regulation. And there are programs like this popping up all over the United States for those that want to learn about how important it is to pay attention to this period. So the educational programs are out there. It's important for your families to just look around if they're interested. But the most important thing is for them to have the awareness. There's some wonderful books out there. The Windows to the Womb by David Chamberlain is a wonderful book. It was his last book before he died. He goes into the first half of the book about all the senses that the baby is growing within the womb. And then it goes into their clients' experiences and what they remembered from their womb experiences. Some really delightful stories and some sad stories. But it's a wake-up call to the power of this period. And any of Dr. Bernie's books, they're just eye-openers for any parent that wants to learn about this early nurture period and how much our babies need us to love them in the womb as well as loving them when they come out. It's empowering and it's important, and we really need to pass this information on to others.
Yeah. Yeah. We can include some of those resources in the show notes. And if someone wanted to reach out to you to learn more about APA and the other work that you do, how could they reach you?
Well, they can get me by email. douladecker@gmail is my email. And that's the best way to get me. And I will get back to them with a Zoom call or a phone call. They can look at my websites, Soul of Birthing, and they can see the various different fields that I work in. And Empowering Pregnancy is my other website, which is the parenting program that I wrote that we can do online. I can either do a group class or I can do a private online class. And it could be done from anywhere in the world, really.
That's wonderful.
Please have them go to the APA website, which is birthpsychology.com. And there's a conscious baby section on there where they can see the latest articles that have been written about the intelligence of the baby in the womb. And we have wonderful conferences. We're having a big one in 2021. It will be in Los Angeles. We will be bringing in speakers from all over the world, teaching professionals, social workers, obstetricians, pediatricians, doulas, parents, childbirth educators. There'll be information for all of those levels to come to this big conference in LA and support the knowledge that I've been talking about with you today. This is critically important for society as a whole and the health and the humanity that we're trying to bring into the world.
Agreed.
And I thank you for letting me share this information.
Oh, it's my honor and privilege. And before I let you go, because I'm loving every minute of this, would you be willing to share one last thought, a pearl of wisdom that you'd like to leave the birthies families with, please?
We're mammals, and we have babies, and we breastfeed our babies. Mother Nature has a plan. She knows how to birth. She knows how to grow a baby. She knows how to nurse her babies. And the most important thing that I can pass on to you is that baby, best way to give them a start is to welcome them to you. Send loving thoughts, lots of oxytocin to them through the pregnancy. Let them know they're loved. Have the most natural birth as possible. If you need help, it's there. When your baby comes out, know that your job is to care for that baby in a loving way, responding to their needs, not letting them cry. You're there to answer their needs. And know that you have this power to bring a mentally and physically healthy baby into the world. When you feel the love, when your partner feels the love, your baby will feel the love. And we will have a greater, more secure society with compassion and empathy and an ability to live together in a much more peaceful world. Amen.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's been such an honor, as I said, to have you here.
Well, it's my honor to share this information. And I want anyone that any needs, any wants to call, find out about APA or empowering pregnancy or hypnobirthing or doula work and how you can be a doula and be part of a team as a doula, it's all important to help the family have the experience that's going to help pregnancy, birthing, and long-term outcomes for a lifetime, for a lifetime of health.
Yes, 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 yes.
We got a lot of work to do, Michelle.
Yes, yes.
I may be 75 years old, but it's not going to stop me. I'm going to keep going until I drop.
You have so much wisdom to share, and I feel it. You still have more time. You have more time with us to teach us.
Oh, you bet. You bet. I'm going to go kicking and screaming until the prenatal psychology is on everybody's radar.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So thank you, families, for listening. And I want to invite you to consider that your baby is so aware and begin to treat your baby, even from preconception, as you would once your sweet baby is in your arms. And if you would like to enhance your bonding with your baby in the womb, I invite you to listen to episode 30 of this podcast. That episode contains a relaxation session that is designed for parents to create an inner sanctuary for themselves and their baby. If parents counteract the effects of stress by utilizing the relaxation response daily, their babies will receive the benefit as well, especially our babies in the womb. And remember, in the first half of this conversation, episode 49, Barbara shares a short breathing exercise, a fetal love break that you can practice a few times a day, which benefits your baby and you greatly. And if you're enjoying the guided relaxations, then be sure to check out episode 29 as well. It is designed to help mitigate the stress that we are all under right now. If you feel that you might need to do some repair with your baby, as Barbara mentioned, or with your child of any age, the guided relaxation featured in episode 3 of the podcast is designed exactly for that. If you're interested in having a session with me or a virtual class series, please just simply reach out to me via the website or at michelle@birthieservices.com. And if you are enjoying the show, please share it with a friend. And you can rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, because that helps to get this valuable information to more families. So thank you again for listening.
For more great conversations like these, or to find out more information and access Michelle's library of amazing guests, go to birthieservices.com/podcast. For more information on the Birthies method, Michelle's classes, meditations, and other services, go to birthieservices.com.